Dear friends, today will be different subject. It will be entitled Artificial Intelligence, Artificial Intelligence, that's people, and robotics. Well, these two things are, as you well know, very strongly interwoven. Robotics could be considered a branch of artificial intelligence. But historically, they preceded in some sense. The first robots was called Golem. It was some medieval Jewish legend of a being constructed from clay and some other elements which had some secret ability to act as a human, and the most frequent legend was about Golem made by some very wise rabbi from Prague in 16th, I think, century. It was, we could say, first robot which we invented. Well, it's a fiction. The second one, there is a big gap, was a robot. It was different name, but often called Frankenstein. It was based on a novel of some young 19th century British writer. There are all sorts of stories where the name Frankenstein came. Anyway, it's a story about a being which is created from partially artificial, partially human elements, and it is sometimes bad, sometimes good, etc., etc. Okay. Then we have to jump again. That was to already 20th century, where actually the time when the word robot has been invented by famous Czech writer Dominik Čapek, who created the name robot. Robot, it comes from many Slavic words, robota, which means work, to work. Robota is work. And they were, again, but they were, of course, it is already 20th century, so they were much more sophisticated. Well, in their stories, they conquered the human race. It was actually a theatrical play, and innumerable then films, remakes, etc. about these robots. And this name sort of nearly stuck. However, there was another scientist already much later. He was a scientist, Norbert Wiener, who invented the word cybernetics. And cybernetics for a while preceded the word term artificial intelligence. They were even cyborgs for robots and things like that. But somehow cybernetics somehow faded away, though it appears occasionally, and the word artificial intelligence was coined by probably was earlier, but as far as the real, it was the group in MIT, Minsky, McCarthy, etc. They were, that was already modern artificial intelligence. That was the, as a matter of fact, domain which I was working in as an academician. I was professor, believe it or not, and my specialty was artificial intelligence, more specifically mechanical theorem proving and then mechanical creating hypothesis. Well, that's very good. And I was even founding member of Canadian AI Society. But I was very quickly became unpopular because I was saying that artificial intelligence is very limited in a sense that certain aspects of human mind are impossible, at least for a while, to be recreated in a form of, electronic, in electronic form. As far as robot, of course, but the robot is relatively simple. It just it's essentially a mechanism which has ability to recognize sound and visual aspect, sound, visual, yes, and touch, of course, touch. Three senses. It's absolutely incapable to recognize smell and taste so far. The reason I was saying that it is playing the beliefs and now it becomes supremely popular topic in media about artificial intelligence, this and that, and wonderful how it affects our mind, blah and blah and blah and blah. That's artificial intelligence, who are unfortunately much more, become more and more populous. Now, seriously, what this whole thing, what are the present very powerful limitation too? Before there exists a quantum computing for real, because now it is just a media excitement, if it will and before it will, it is impossible to even dream about having something which can compare to human intelligence. Of course, it is much faster in, for example, as you see, they are great accomplishment. For me, one of the greatest is recognizing of speech and recognizing of natural language and the answering question which Google, not scientists, but Google excels. And of course, there is simple machines called now robots who perform simple mechanical tasks. Before they were simply called machines, now they are called robots because they are equipped with cameras and they can recognize, they have depict some pictures and they may recognize, of course, machine recognized touch before, and they may recognize sound, though that is not very important in robotics. They have incredible future even now because most of these repetitive, simple mechanical tasks, mainly in factories, can be easily replaced by robots, existing robots. Why it is not? Because of the political, economical, this nonsenses of our capitalistic liberal system, which can and can't and have rules, regulations, etc. Of course, if they are deadly afraid it will create unemployment because, humans which work as machines right now could be do something much more human than repetitively putting a screw and turning and passing it like in car factories. And now, what the robots at this point, and in my opinion for long futures, cannot do is experience feelings. Feelings which are, and they can't actually even think. They only obey certain program which is thought by humans, and they perform this program. They don't think in terms of humans, and they are not creative at all at this point. Of course, they can't also have feelings. I'm not talking about perception. That can be imitated and quite well, as we see with visual recognition, sound recognition, touch recognition. You use it in your smartphone by touching and pulling, etc. It's extremely simple things. Extremely simple, though makes us amazed that stupid little machine can do such things. And they're very simple. Humans are touching the fingers, etc., and have all sorts of perceptions which are way even beyond the dreams of so-called robots. They are really robots. They are, or now called in software, they are called bots. They are to do repetitive things, not to do creative things. Why? Because artificial intelligence, instead of combine itself to look how really human mind and nervous system and body works, mind for me embraces it all, the brain, body, nervous system connection with external world, etc., collective intelligence and million of other things. Instead of looking at this aspect, they have the great hope that faster and faster computer will do it. No, they won't. They will do certain mechanical, more complex problem. Yes, they will resolve because they are simply faster. Everything which we are surprised could be done with slower computers, will be useless because it will take too long. So believe that faster and bigger computers solve the problem is the belief of artificial intelligence. The real artificial intelligence has to be blended with neuroscience, and only from there they can be discovered how human actually works and what can be mimicked by electronic, what is beyond electronics. We don't even know. We don't have a mechanism for thoughts. I mean physical in terms of physics, not in terms of New Age and nonsense. Mechanism, how the thinking process. We know that it happens. We know that there are energy, and we can see something happening in our brain, this and that, but we have no clue really what is happening beyond that there are some electromagnetic phenomena. Maybe there are other energy involved. We don't even have clue. So the future, I see, the robotics will become blended with neuroscience. And who knows, maybe the legend of this Frankenstein are not so silly. Maybe they will be kind of blend of humans which have human creativity, human feeling, human social consciousness. They might be. I am not putting it down, but at this point, blabbling about such things, leave it for science fiction. Don't call it science. Yes, quantum computing, it's an extremely important thing because it strongly start reminding the hypothesis somewhat by Sir Roger Penrose, and I think his name is, and say he worked with psychologists. I forgot the name, Abramov. Anyway, you can listen. They're excellent. Their TED Talks, etc. If you want to know about it, that's where they perceive it as the quantum vibration. Besides, why robots have to be made from silicon, the entire artificial, the heart of the robot there, have to be silicon chips. They, these quantum things could be based on completely different materials. Anyway, it is fascinating, and at this point, coming back to reality, I think that very soon in society, wisdom society, mechanical, repetitive activities, work, should be performed by robots. That leaves humans who are now acting, pretending to be robots, to be open their creativity, their feelings, their humor, their joy. And mechanical things leave to robots. That's at least my view. Well, we'll see what happens. You may see, I probably will be dead, but you may see if I was right or wrong. It doesn't really, it's not so important. Important is that I hope this will clarify and stop you from believing it, so-called authorities which blah blah various things which they supposed to be authorities about, because they look blah blah. The great popular historian talks about hacking human minds and stuff like that. That's a blah blah. Please distinguish blah blah from reality. Okay? So on this joyful, let's say, moment, I will finish.